What's up? I'm Justin. Welcome to Don't Disappoint Your Parents. We're doing something a little crazy today. Let's get cooking. This has been an episode in the making for about a month and a half, so before we begin I'd like to remind you to subscribe and share it with a friend because it really means a lot to me. We're making some piran, or century eggs, or 1,000-year-old eggs today. These eggs are a delicacy in Chinese culture and are fermented for about a month. I found this recipe on Instructables, and while I wouldn't recommend trying everything you find on the internet, I tested it out so you don't have to. We're going to start by putting on some gloves and masks. Luckily, we have a lot of those lying around. The mask and gloves are protection because we're working with pure lye, a corrosive agent that should not be touched or inhaled. We're going to measure out 42 grams of lye, 1 liter of water, and 72 grams of salt. Combine these in a pot. Ideally, you'd use a stainless steel pot, but I don't have one. Bring the pickling solution to a boil. Once all the lye and salt has dissolved, pour the solution out into a bowl to cool to room temperature. Add the room temp pickling solution and 6 eggs into a plastic food container. Luckily, we have plenty of those laying around too. Let the eggs sit at room temp for 10 days, checking on them occasionally to make sure they are completely submerged. After 10 days, we're going to dump out our pickling solution and carefully dry the eggs. Next, we're going to wrap the eggs in plastic wrap and cover them in some non-drying clay. This helps prevent air from reaching the eggs and rotting them. I'm going to vacuum seal them too for good measure, but that's optional. Let the eggs sit in the clay for another 2 weeks. Finally, after 24 days, take your eggs out of the clay and out of their shells to reveal the bright orange gelatinous eggs that you've made. And there you have your fully ready to eat century eggs. Well, usually this is the part of the show where I invite my mom or sister to come on and taste my food, but because this was made with the corrosive agent, I just thought that I'd volunteer myself as tribute and taste this piran, which is a century-year-old egg, before I endanger any of my family members. So, it looks really good, but I'm gonna cut it in half.
Oh.
Lots of foreigners have had this on their show and they're like, oh, it's so disgusting, but honestly it's like not that bad. And usually what we like to eat is to have just like a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of grated ginger and maybe even some cilantro if you want it, but here we go.
Do I need to call 911? Poison control?
Pretty good.
What's the texture like?
Texture's good.
How about the flavor?
Versus like, compared to store-bought, it's a little chewier, which is interesting. Flavors, because we use chicken eggs, it's like not as gamey, but overall not bad. Yeah. It works. I'm not dead. I'm very proud of myself. This is my sourdough, okay? Jamie made sourdough at the beginning of quarantine and was like so proud of it, and then it died like 2 weeks later. This is my quarantine project. Honestly not bad. Now, obviously eating a century egg with just soy sauce isn't everyone's ideal dish, so we're going to make some century egg and pork congee. Congee is a type of rice porridge that is traditionally eaten for breakfast in China. Start by rehydrating 3 dried scallops with some hot water and let them sit for about 5 minutes. Next, add the scallops, half a cup of rice, and half a cup of water into a blender and pulse 3 to 4 times just to break up the rice a little. This will help the congee cook much faster. Pour the rice, 1 cup of chicken stock, and 4 cups of water into a large pot. Realize that you messed up and transfer the rice into a smaller clay pot brought to you by Thomas Lee. Bring the porridge to a boil and lower to a simmer. Let it cook for 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. During which time, we're going to season some ground pork with salt, white pepper, and a bit of Chinese cooking wine. Mix until thoroughly combined. Next, cut up 3 of your eggs into small pieces and set them aside. Once your congee is ready, add your pork, century eggs, and a few slices of ginger. I'm using way too much pork, by the way, you should use like half. Stir and cook for another 5 minutes. Ladle your congee out, add some scallions and white pepper, and there you have some delicious century egg and pork congee. Rich and minerally from the egg and pork, this is an amazingly comforting dish that just hits the spot. And I'm happy to report that a week after eating these eggs soaked in a lye pickling solution, I'm still healthy and not dead. No food poisoning or anything. So, they work.